is 16 November 2012. This evening, the topic of discussion is about the law of cause and effect, or in other words, the law of causality and the teachings of karma. In the previous talk, I discussed about the insight knowledge that discerning mentality and physicality. To realize this insight knowledge, meditators have to attain deep concentration. The mind must be free from 5 mental hindrances. As you know, the 5 mental hindrances are thoughts of sensual desire, ill will, restlessness and remorse, sloth and torpor, and doubts. If the mind is not free from these 5 mental hindrances, then the insight knowledge will not become clear and penetrative. So these hindrances are mental states, and they hinder the progress of mindfulness, concentration, and insight knowledge. Whenever any of these hindrances arise, meditators have to be mindful and no more attentive. So when meditators could overcome 5 mental hindrances through mindfulness, then mindfulness will become stronger, concentration will become deeper. First of all, meditators realize the specific characteristics of the 4 primary elements, or the specific characteristics of the mental phenomena and physical phenomena. For example, meditators realize rising movements, movements as movements. During walking meditation, meditators also realize lifting movements, pushing movements, dropping movements. All these are movements. At the same moment, there is a noting mind, aware or mindful of these movements. Meditators also realize these movements is physicality, or known as rupa in Pali language. This physicality or rupa does not have the ability or the functions to cognize or to know or to feel. And the noting mind is mentality, or is known as nama in Pali language. So this noting mind or nama has the ability to cognize or to know. Then as meditators put forth more effort in the mindfulness or in the noting, meditators begin to realize the relationship between the noting mind and the phenomena such as rising movements or falling movements or heat, pain, and so on. You know what's the relationship between the noting mind and the object, such as rising movements. Do you know the relationship between these two processes? If you know the process of mindfulness or the process of noting from your personal experience, then you may know the answer. Or in other words, at the moment when the meditators realize there's only a pair of processes. One is the object, for example, rising movements. The other is a noting mind, is another mental process. So do you know which processes arises first? Which process arises first?
The movement.
The movements first. So movements is an object. Then it's because arising this object, then the noting mind arises. So which process is a cause or which process is an effect?
Movement, which arise first, is the cause.
So movements is the cause. Then the noting mind, arising of noting mind is the effect. So if your mindfulness is sharp, concentration is deep, then you'll be able to realize clearly the relationship between the objects and the subject, which is the noting mind. So when meditators are mindful of any object or any phenomena, they have to train themselves to be mindful of that object by paying full attention. As you know, the noting mind, the subject, can only be mindful and note one object at each moment. At the beginning of the practice, mindfulness is not attentive, not precise. As you're mindful of any objects, it seems like the mind also conscious of other objects or other less distinct objects. So meditators have to follow the principle or the guidelines of the practice. There's to be mindful of the most prominent object as it really occurs. Note it as it really occurs. So if meditators, for example, mindful of the rising movements, when meditators note rising, if at the same movements, at the same time, meditators try to find out whether there's any pain or whether the feeling of pity is still there and so on. Then meditators could not really focus all the mindfulness or attentions on the rising movements. Then this becomes dispersings of the mind or dispersings of the mindfulness. Disperse means like the attention mind being dispersed or like split into 2-3 objects. In other words, meditators may think that the mind is able to be aware of 2-3 objects at the same moment. But in reality, the mind knows one thing at a time. But due to the swiftness of the mind, the mind perceives one object after another very rapidly. It gives the impression that the mind perceives the 2-3 things at the same moment, at the same time. So only meditators could put forth effort so that the mindfulness becomes attentive, energetic, precise to one object or one phenomenon at each moment, then concentration will become deeper, stronger. Whenever any object arising, meditators training the mindfulness to pay full attention to that object. So as the mindfulness becomes more and more constant, continuous, then meditators will be realizing, for example, the arising and passing away of the object. So the concentration attained by the vipassana meditators is different from concentration attained by samatha meditators or concentration meditators. The objects of vipassana meditations are mentality or physicality, nama rupa, or in other words, the five aggregates of clinging. As you know, the five aggregates of clinging are aggregate of rupa, physicality, or the aggregate of feelings, the third aggregate of perceptions, the fourth aggregate of formations, and the fifth aggregate of consciousness. So all these nama rupa or five aggregates of clinging are not permanent, impermanent, or they also have the characteristics of dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, and anatta, or not self, not soul, or impersonal nature. So when meditators attain vipassana samadhi or vipassana concentration, meditators realize every object such as movements or pain or thinking arise and pass away instantly. The concentration can only stay with one object, such as the movements, just for a very brief moment. Because any object of vipassana meditation or any mentality, any physicality do not last long. All these phenomena arise and pass away instantly and by themselves. Meditators or in other words vipassana meditators could not hold the object or seize the object. In other words, vipassana meditators do not even have to put an effort to let go of it, because all these phenomena have the characteristics of arising and passing away. They are natural processes. It is different from concentration attained by samatha meditators. Most of the objects of samatha meditations belong to conceptual reality. They do not really have the characteristics of arising and passing away. For example, if samatha meditators take the earth kasina as an object of concentration, samatha meditators concentrate on the that earth kasina all the times until the samatha meditators are able to gain a nimitta in the mind. Then samatha meditators put forth more effort trying to hold the nimitta. Do not let the nimitta disappear, so that the mind could concentrate on that nimitta for a longer and longer period of time and then able to attain deeper and deeper concentrations. So in samatha meditations, samatha meditators, we can say that the meditators put forth effort to hold the object or to grasp the object, do not let go the objects. So, but in the practice of vipassana meditation, it's not possible to get hold of the object tightly. It's because every object, every phenomenon has the nature of arising and passing away. So when meditators attain vipassana samadhi, then they begin to realize or comprehend the three common characteristics of the mental and physical phenomena. So before meditators realize the three common characteristics of the mental and physical phenomena, meditators have to realize the specific characteristics of the mental and physical phenomena. For example, meditators realize rising movements. It's just a process, natural process of movements. At that times, meditators could not sense or conscious of the shape or the form of the abdomen, or sometimes meditators could not conscious or sense the body form. When meditators are mindful of other phenomena such as heat, cold, hardness, softness, meditators realize heat as heat, or coldness as coldness, or hardness as hardness, softness and softness, and could not identify or could not sense the location, the form or the shape. And then meditators realize the relationship or between the object, such as the movements or the hardness, and the noting mind or the awareness. Then when meditators are mindful of the movements during walking meditations or the movements in the daily activities, meditators begin to realize these movements are preceded by a mental state that is known as intention or intending. So you may know the relationship between the intentions and the following movements from theoretically. In other words, you may understand well through sutta maya panya, or knowledge that you gain by hearing or reading, or you may understand through the knowledge you gain through analyzing, or there's a cinta maya panya. But during the practice, you need to realize this relationship through the practice of mindfulness meditation or the practice of satipatthana meditation. So when mindfulness is sharp, concentration is deep enough, then meditators could see clearly or realizing clearly the relationship between the intentions and the following movements. So when meditators are asked in the interview what's the relationship between the intention and the following movements, they have to answer from their personal experience or practical experience. And then sometimes before the arising of the mental state of intentions, meditators may be perceived another intending mind. So this intending mind is usually being mindful and noted as the desire in English. For example, sometimes you realize there's a mental state arising, wanting to pay homage or desire to pay homage to the Buddha. Then you should be mindful and note this desire. And due to the arising of this desire, then causes a series of intention and movements, such as intending to lift up the right hand, intention to lift up the left hand, then both hands are folded, then intending to raise up to the forehead, and so on. So when meditators could see clearly the relationship between the intention and the falling movements and the arising of the object and the noting mind, then the meditators come to realize the cause and effect. The arising of phenomena is due to causes and conditions. Meditators may infer from their practical experience that the so-called person, such as I or you, arises also due to conditions and causes. Meditators may infer from the experience that due to ignorance, craving, then beings are born again and again. Then, if our ignorance, beings are continuously performing various kinds of actions or karma, or these actions of karma, you become a factor to determine their destiny or where they take rebirth. So those meditators who have knowledge of dependent origination, paticca samuppada, they may be able to contemplate on it. But during the practice, if such contemplations arising, meditators also have to mindful and note it as a mental state, as a mental process. Sometimes meditators come to realize that there are these three kinds of vata, or three kinds of the cycle. So the first is the kilesa vata, the round of defilements, that consists of three links: their ignorance, craving, and clinging. And because of this kilesa vata, then it leads to kama vata, round of actions. So this round of actions consists of two links in the dependent origination. They are karmic formations, sankara, and becoming, bhava. When there is this kama vata, round of actions, then it will lead to vipaka vata, round of results. So this round of results begins from the rebirth consciousness, vijnana, or then paccaya, namarupa, and so on. Ignorance is the direct cause of unwholesome actions. Ignorance is can be said is an indirect cause of wholesome actions. So, in other words, even one accumulates a lot of merits, but ignorance is not uprooted. Then, when there's ignorance, there's craving for existence. So, if one accumulates a lot of merits through the performance of dana, generosity or observance of morality or practicing samatha meditation, then one may take rebirth. One may take birth in the present states or heavenly states or Brahma world. So one has when one accumulates a lot of merits, one would have good rebirth. But if one commits unwholesome actions out of greed or out of hatred, out of delusions, then one would fall into the apaya world again. So as long as these three roots of evil, greed, hatred, delusions, are not removed totally, one would take rebirth again and again in this samsara. Sometimes beings, one may be born in the good states, such as in the human world, deva world. Then when marriage is exhausted, one maybe take birth in the four apaya world again. So in the scriptures, the Buddha gave a simile. He says just like the seeds that are not damaged, not rotten, not spoiled. So if one plants this seed in a good field, in a well prepared soil, then this seed is capable to grow again or capable of sprouting. So when there's other condition, for example there's rain or enough sun, then this seed will be growing into plants again. Then the Buddha say, if a man were to burn all these seeds in fire and reduce them to ashes, then he let these ashes be blown away by the strong wind, or let these ashes be carried away by strong currents of the river. Then, in other words, these seeds would have been radically destroyed, fully eliminated. Then it's not possible to sprout again, or it's not liable to arise in the future. So isn't it? If you do not want to see these seeds grows in the plants and produce the fruits, then you have to destroy the seeds. So what's the simile of these seeds? The commentaries explain that the seeds represents the wholesome and unwholesome actions or karma. As you know, there are three kinds of karma: mental karma, verbal karma, and physical karma. We are owners of these karmas. The text says this karma, just like your shadow, will be following you wherever you go. Then who is this man who burns the seed with fire? So the man here refers to the vipassana meditator. The fire here represents the knowledge of the noble path. When the man burns up the seeds, it's like the meditators burns out the defilements with path knowledge or magga yanas. So when the seeds have been reduced to the ashes, just like the foothold of the aggregates is cut off at the roots. So the foothold of the five aggregates, in other words, is a craving. Because of craving, these five aggregates will be arising again and again. So in other words, in conventional reality, in conventionality, a person, a being, I or you actually consists of these 5 aggregates. So when a meditator realizes all the 4 stages of path knowledge, then the foothold of this craving is totally, the foothold of the aggregate that's craving is totally uprooted. So in other words, one becomes arahant, a noble one. Although arahants still have the 5 aggregates, but the clinging is already uprooted. So we can say the noble one, arahant, has attained kilesa parinibbana. So there's no more defilements. When the ashes being blown away in the strong wind or carried away by the strong currents of the river, and it's not possible to grow again in the future. So just like when the 5 aggregates cease to exist, that means will never again arise or manifested in the round of becoming. This is what we call the passing away of arahant, or in other words, khanda parinibbana. So how to attain kilesa parinibbana, khanda parinibbana? So the text explains you have to commit, you have to do a kind of karma that is known as karma that is neither dark nor bright, with neither dark nor bright result, which leads to the destruction of karma. So what is this karma? Karma that is neither dark nor bright, with neither dark nor bright results, which leads to the destruction of karma. You may know dark karma easily. Dark karma such as killing, taking what's not given, or any actions that cause pain, suffering, that is done with volitions or cetana. And it's been done either through the body, through the speech, or through the mind. So the result of dark karma is the dark results. So one may be reborn in a world where he always experiences pain or unpleasant feelings. In other words, in this painful world, the context is always painful. So when the contact is painful, the feeling is also painful. So what kind of world where the beings experience painful contact, painful feelings? By our words, such beings in hell, Niraya. So you may see that here it also implies the cause and condition. So due to the past existence, when there's ignorance and sankara, so this sankara or formation in the past must be unwholesome sankara that causes pain and suffering. So because of this unwholesome sankara, so one is born in the world where the contact is always painful. Because of contact is painful, feeling is also painful. Then there's another karma known as bright karma with bright results. So it is directly opposite with the dark karma. Your volitional actions, whether it's done to the body, speech or mind, will only bring welfare, happiness to others. In other words, others would experience pleasant feelings or sensation because of your wholesome actions, wholesome volitional actions. So if one accumulates wholesome volitional actions. Then after passing away, where this person will take rebirth. So this person would reborn in a pleasant world. The contact is always present. The feeling is always present or happy. So such a being in the deva, or the contact is always present. The feeling is always present. Then there's another karma known as the dark and bright karma with dark and bright results. In other words, there are beings who have performed these two kinds of karma. That's why they also experience these two kinds of results. So some beings sometimes experience painful feelings. Sometimes they experience pleasant feelings or sensations in their life. So do you know who are these beings who experience both kinds of feelings, or presence and unpresence or painful feelings? The human. So that's why we say beings are the owners of their actions or their karma. Whatever properties you have, valuables you have, all these have to left behind. You are not the real owners. Even your relatives, your spouse have to left behind. So even the relationship is very intimate. You have to left them behind and go alone. But the actions that you have done, the karma that you have done through your body, speech and mind, really belong to you. That the relationship of this action with you is truly very intimate. So what is because what the actions you have done, eventually you may have to reap the results. So beings are heirs to their deeds, or in other words, karma dayata. It's because of these actions we take birth again. It becomes our origins. So this is known as karma yoni. So the karma is compared with the wombs of the mother. This is where the life arose. So the relationship with the karma is so intimate. It's difficult to be broken, just like the family ties, difficult to be broken. So this is known as karma bantu. Eventually, the best protections, the true refuge, is our actions. In other words, if one rightly understands the teaching of karma, one does not have to rely the externals for refuge, for protections. So as long as the actions of karma are good, pure, noble, then this is your refuge, your protections. So when one rightly understands this law of cause effect, or the inside knowledge of causality, then one also rightly understands the teachings of the karma and its results. So one has to take responsibility of one's actions. One should be wise enough to choose the right actions. If one chooses the wrong actions, then one may have to reap the results, which could be painful or suffering. So one should not blame others. One should not blame others. The authors talk about karma. Then in that booklet, it says that the uncultured man always blames others. the semi-cultured man blames himself, and fully cultured man blames neither. So, when something has gone wrong, who should be blamed? Yes. In the next talk, I shall continue to discuss about the karma that's neither dark nor bright. So, as you are practicing mindfulness meditation, vipassana meditation, or actually you are trying to cultivate or develop this karma that's neither dark nor bright. So I wish everyone are striving diligently so that eventually you could realize this neither dark nor bright results and uproots the mental defilements and attain this kilesa parinibbana and khanda parinibbana eventually.